Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, we're going to take a look at the Kilchoman 100% Islay. Dustin. This is the 11th edition, bottled back in 2001. 12,000 total bottles, it looks like, on this particular one. What else can you tell us about it?
Comes in at a very nice 50%. And they give an incredible amount of disclosure each year on these bottles. The guys, the box has just tons of stuff, so they mix it up. So this is at least 9 years old. They're using barley from the 2007, 9, 10, and 11 harvests, which I'm going to go ahead and assume that means there's up to 14-year-old whiskey in here, Mike.
Mm-hmm. 9 to 14-year-old. Would probably be called a 9-year-old whiskey if you had to put an age statement on it, but there's some definitely older whiskey in here.
I think saying it's part of the harvest is like one of their ways of getting around the rule that you can't tell people.
Yeah.
Like how old the blend is,
Hey, man, any amount of information you can give us to try to glean what we got in the bottle is welcome to me.
The one thing I picked up on when I was looking at this, Mike, the reason I picked it up is I bought one of the early editions, like maybe 4 or 5. Didn't think a lot of it. Mm-hmm. That one was a crystal clear spirit. This one, they used 7 Oloroso sherry butts along with 26 bourbon barrels, and it has a beautiful color. It's not over the top, not overdone, but very nice.
And one thing to say with Kilchoman, natural color, unchill filter.
Mm-hmm. 50% is such a good ABV.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's plenty.
It saves them a little bit of money. It means it's more approachable for the non-geek like us. Mm-hmm. But we're going to be like, 50% is still good.
Oh, for sure. No.
Good.
I mean, I've had plenty of cash strength whiskeys that weren't 50%.
Yeah, you just bought one.
Just bought one. All right, let's get to this one. It's been a while since we did Kilchoman. One of the other Islay whiskey distilleries, but I mean, great distillery. I've always liked everything I've had from them.
Yeah, I'm excited for seeing when they finally get some older spirits. I mean,
very young distillery.
We're starting to see some older stuff here in this one. I think Loch Gorm's getting a bit older now too. Mm-hmm. Man,
that was always a good one too.
This is beautiful.
It's nice. It's a nice nose.
This
is, the sherry cask influence is really noticeable, along with a very beautiful grain, malty barley characteristic to it.
Beautiful smoke. I mean, it's like smoked vanilla.
It is a very, very unique smoke note.
Like, imagine one of those scenes in the movies where the guys are doing like just huge lines of cocaine. They got giant bags of it. Mm-hmm. Instead of cocaine, it's powdered vanilla. That's what it's like. It's just wafting up as this like smoky vanilla.
Just as intense.
Probably not as intense as that would have been.
Yeah, chalky vanilla is probably a good way to say that.
I'm just picturing Scarface and it's vanilla instead. And this is his little friend. You definitely get some of those berries coming through from the sherry notes. Mm-hmm. Barley is very present, but it's nice, earthy, rich. I mean, this is like a really nice like grain note coming.
Yeah, it's almost kind of transitioned to a sugary grain almost. No doubt brought on by those sherry casks.
And lactose too. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, a lot of times we get vanilla notes. I'm thinking, bourbon cask maturation, but in this particular one, the berry notes and the sugary notes, it feels like it's coming from the sherry cask. It almost feels like a sugary plum to that wheat note.
I agree. I mean, it's got sweetness from the malt. It's got sweetness coming from probably the bourbon barrels have imparted some really nice vanilla notes. I think I've heard where they source their barrels, but I can't remember now, so I don't want to cite it. But I'm guessing these are first fill barrels too. Just
feels like a lot of cask maturation for the amount of years that it's been in. I was kind of thinking like, okay, what would I think the older whiskey is and the younger whiskey is as far as bourbon sherry? But the truth is, they probably put a nice mix of all of them as far as the 2007 to 2011 maltings that they did, a little bit combination of everything.
Yeah, no, I'm loving the nose on this, Mike.
Yeah, because I'm picking up older bourbon cask maturation, then I'm also picking up a little bit older sherry too.
Yeah, one thing they've done recently, they have started using these much darker, much more intense sherry butts. I noticed their like San Egg has gone from being a very similar color to this, because it's supposed to be like 85-25 sherry bourbon,
right? And
now it's dark as hell, which I don't, always think helps whiskey when they're just looking for the darkest influence they can get from sherry.
No.
And
it needs to be focused on taste and smell, not color. I'm sorry, I didn't mean red. But yeah, that's the whole reason for the caramel coloring, and it's topic for a different conversation.
Beautiful.
Yeah, no, it's really nice. This is, kind of what I was expecting when you were telling me about the whiskey. Lovely barley note, nice little smoke. The The amount of vanilla in this thing is turned up more than I would have imagined, which is really nice. But again, a little berry, sweet berries on here as well. Little straightforward and simple, but what it does well.
Oh, beautiful. Again, rich, sweetness, incredible mouthfeel. At 50%, this is much more viscous, oily, and most importantly, it's incredibly creamy. I mean, it's got just a beautiful creamy mouthfeel. Heavy vanilla up front. Kicks in a really nice smoke. We didn't talk about the peat note on the nose much, Mike, but it's obviously there. And coming through here is this beautiful mixture of like cigarette smoke as well as like beach smoker, like wood smoke kind of thing going on, like you're roasting a pig out, on a beach.
It does come off very tropical. Something I said before, Hawaiian bonfire. Mm-hmm. Like pineapple or something on that bonfire. But the vanilla note is, again, a huge standout. You're right, very oily, very viscous mouthfeel on this.
Very.
Feels like cask-strength whiskey. I mean, it's dense, it's oily. Oh, man, nice experience. Kind of on the mid-palate, those berry notes came in, like a little bit of a blueberry note, in my opinion. Again,
I was struggling with the fruit myself, so I'll take whatever it's getting.
It's a little tart, the fruit note to it, just
okay.
a twinge, just of that sweetness. What I think is blueberry, I could be wrong, though. But again, even more sugar on top of that.
Yeah, there's a nice fruit element here, but again, it's kind of like generic, it could be almost anything. It's just a nice kind of little bit of fruitiness.
Holiday berries.
Holiday berries.
Red, blue, green, you never know. But a great linger on this, too.
Yeah.
Like, even on the side, you get a nice little wisp of chocolate from the sherry cask right here at the end, after kind of the vanilla subsides a little bit. And the sting, just from the whiskey itself, it comes off way higher than 50%.
A little drop of water in here before we get on with it, Mike.
I was going to have one more little sip, just neat, to make sure I didn't miss anything.
I mean, it's a good one. There's a lot of complexity.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it's doing a little of everything. That's the beauty of this. What they've done here by blending those bourbon casks with the sherry cask, they've done a perfect balancing act where neither one is overpowering the other. So you get to really enjoy what's happening here.
It's just now the second sip, neat. It's hefty on the palate. It's meaty on the palate. Mm-hmm. There is almost, I said Hawaiian barbecue before. I really wouldn't pick up anything as savory as meats, but on the second taste, you could convince me carnitas. Unpeppered carnitas, just something plain.
It's a rich, heavy whiskey. It's the sherry is doing a beautiful job in adding depth. It's adding some darker wood notes. It's adding a little bit of a leather. I mean, it's really doing stuff. It's coming off with a lot of notes that come off like 20-year-old whiskey. It doesn't quite have the refinement of a 20-year-old whiskey, but it does have elements in the taste and the profile of 20-year-old whiskey.
Yeah, and I tell you what, the sherry cask almost kind of smelled to me like Diageo Bodega cask. There is something...
Ooh, you're getting that bubblegum-ish notes?
I am. I'm getting like that
Really?
bubblegum sherry note that I get off a couple Lagavulin special editions. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking that's from the sherry note.
The Klein Leash, yeah.
Yeah, so, but as far as the peat, the smoke note on this, the oily, the sooty, it's almost getting sooty a little bit. Man, that's
I was just
really something
going to say,
special.
with water, the smoke really comes out and it does become more sooty. It actually is reminding me more of like a Lagavulin 12.
Yeah, young Lagavulin. Yeah, exactly. Like, again, maybe like that Jazz Fest from 2015, I want to say.
It's brought out the water's brought out the underlying peat, and it's kind of pushed the cask maturation away. And so it's brought out more of the youth. Again, this is a blend of, we're guessing, 9 to 14-year-old whiskey. So it makes sense that water is going to let kind of the spirit come through a little bit more.
Sure. Yeah, and you can probably be pretty aggressive with it at 50%. They can handle it.
But it doesn't. Again, I'm not getting any off notes from youth. There's nothing wrong coming out here. It's just beautifully
It's very
well
clean,
structured.
like an Octomore, like a Port Charlotte. Some of the exotic cask maturations we have on the Port Charlotte, the OLC, and a few of the other ones. It comes off very comparable as far as the quality of experience to that. Very comparable.
That berry, like, is sticking with the vanilla. Sometimes like when you're smelling, it's like, oh, there's some berry. Oh, there's some vanilla. This is like a wave, and they're together. Like the top of it's the berry, the bottom is that underlying vanilla.
You don't get one
smoke
without
everywhere.
Don't get one without the other. And I always say with the berries, the sweetness, which you could say is vanilla, but yeah, it's all right there.
Love it.
Super white sugar. Yeah, but man, this was an impressive one. And a lot of times, these Islas, that's what I love about heavily peated whiskeys, especially Isla whiskeys. You can get a very young Isla whiskey, 9 to 14 years old. I've seen Lagavulins. I've seen in Brooklottes. I've seen in boon of habits. You know, when you get a 10, 12-year-old whiskey, that's just does so much and has so much complexity because it has the added element of the peat. And I love it when any of these distilleries will tell you the local barley where they sourced all the grain from.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you guys, read through the boxes on these. I mean, they give you where the farm is. They tell you the bogs they got the peat from. I don't think I've ever seen that disclosed.
No, that was, I wish I could pronounce that. But no, I mean, but you know what? That's what, you know, when you have neighbors like Octomore, you know, giving all the disclosure about the cask maturation and stuff like that, you know, it makes you become better, in my opinion. And now more disclosure with whiskey is something I've always asked for. And as long as we're moving more towards that, regardless of what it is that's in the whiskey, I'm fine. I've told you many times, I've had 4, 5, 6-year-old whiskeys, 8-year-old whiskeys that I thought were incredible. It didn't matter to me that they were that young. It would matter to me what was in the bottle.
Yeah, now water's brought out the ashy, sootiness, brought out a little bit of a slight metallic twinge for me. Gotten a little more sour. Still lovely, but I definitely think it lost a little of that creamy, oily mouthfeel. So I would definitely drink this one neat or with the tiniest drop of water you can possibly put in there.
Yeah, it handled water less effectively than I assumed it would. You know, the nose, I like what it did.
I agree.
It made the palate feel young.
Yeah.
Comparatively. I mean, everything you said is basically...
And that's sometimes a problem with 50% whiskey, is that they found that sweet spot at 50%, and sometimes you can't add water.
They know what they're doing sometimes, don't they?
Yeah, they know, like, this is the best we can give you. Trust me, start adding water, and it's going to lose that.
Right. Sometimes I always think, like, oh, you just did it to be cheap. You know what I mean? To get every dime you could out of us. But sometimes I've added a few drops of water, and it's like, nope, I ruined it. I ruined it. All right, buddy. Before we get to whiskey score here, what did you pick this up for?
So prices have gone up kind of everywhere. I'm guessing this is on the high end. What I paid was $125.
It's good.
I think it's a good value, actually. Yeah, I really do.
Yeah, I really do, too.
I think, in Ohio, you might still see these around the $100 mark, but I don't know if you're going to find batch 11 because, with Ohio, it's just...
Yeah, hit and miss.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get, even with the website.
You might find a freaking, like, batch 7, and, the website doesn't distinguish, so...
You have no idea what you're going to run into here. All right, Dustin, whiskey score time. If you would, let me go first.
Go right ahead.
It's your whiskey. I had a little bit more time with this, so this is my first time with it. I was pretty impressed with this whiskey.
Yep.
There was absolutely nothing that I was really turned off about. So I was back and forth between 2 scores. I'm going to go with the higher end of the 2 scores. That's an 88 out of 100.
Okay.
Thoughts?
I'm going higher. I was actually between an 89 and a 90.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I wasn't overthinking this.
I think
I was underthinking.
The nose to me on this thing is really getting up there with some of the really special whiskeys that we've brought the folks here.
Nice nose.
The palate is really high up there. Then water comes in and it
Didn't
brought it
handle water
down. So I'm going to leave it at the 89. Definitely impressive. One of the absolute best whiskeys I've had in this price bracket.
Yeah.
And probably my favorite Kilchoman to date. I've had a couple of these, and
We need to do
Kilchoman, sorry.
Yeah, we need to do more from this distillery. I tell you what, when they first came out, I had 2 or 3 of the expressions. Like when I first met Keith, we got a few of them. That was 7 years ago, and I loved everything that I had, but there was only 3 bottles I could get to.
Well, and those 3 bottles are all better now than they were then. They have been getting older and better every batch.
Yeah, so this is a good one. Good Islay distillery. If you guys haven't checked this Kilchoman distillery out yet, you definitely owe it yourself to try this one. Dustin, until next time, what do you wish the folks?
Happy peated drinking.
We'll see you then.